eastbound on Highland.
Go on patrol during a prostitution sting. But the cops don't want to throw these girls in jail.
We know that they're messing with death.
Hear how they're trying to rescue them from sex trafficking.
It's a huge success.
Plus, from Woodlawn High School,
He was called Black this, Black that, coon.
meet the real Touchdown Tony
Give it all to him, he'll bless you tenfold.
on today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. Well, it's sort of like a scripted play. You know, these conventions, they're very beautiful. I'm amazed the Republicans got it together so quickly. Very beautiful. It looks like Mrs. Trump's speechwriter should be fired for doing or borrowing a few lines from Mrs. Obama. But anyhow, the movement to stop Donald Trump from getting a nomination failed. And we mentioned before that the language in that speech, although she was absolutely gorgeous, and I think that's what they wanted to put her on. She had a beautiful dress, and she's a lovely lady. And so Trump knows when he's got a winner. Terry?
Well, the convention began amid extremely tight security. We have two reports, starting with Abigail Robertson on the drama inside the Republican Party.
It's been a dramatic first 24 hours here in Cleveland. The Never Trump delegates wasted no time with a last-ditch effort to keep Donald Trump from officially securing the nomination. But RNC leaders quickly shut down their efforts.
It's already gone, already defeated. We're on to nominating Donald Trump for president.
Get over yourself. Get over yourself.
But the main focus of the day was Melania Trump's headliner speech that offered the public a personal picture of the candidate, showing his softer side as a husband and father.
He's tough when he has to be, but he's also kind and fair and caring.
Other noteworthy speakers highlighted why they agree the soon-to-be GOP nominee will be the law and order candidate who will make America safe again.
Donald Trump is everything Hillary Clinton is not. And when it comes to the threat posed by radical Islamic terrorism, he will not hesitate to kill the terrorists who threaten American lives.
And now back to my colleague John Jessup, who has more on the security here in Cleveland.
It's been a fiery campaign season for both parties, with nationwide protesters at times clashing with the police and each other at various political events. Add in the recent shootings of police officers in Baton Rouge and Dallas, and it's no wonder tensions in the air heading into this year's GOP convention. But the Republican National Committee says it's confident in the security measures set in place.
We are working every day to make sure that every person who's down here who's attending convention is safe.
RNC spokeswoman Audrey Scagnelli says a lot of hard work has gone into preparing for this event.
We have had a team here on the ground for well over a year working on preparing for the convention, and that's everything from transportation logistics.
That preparation also includes hours of tactical training, along with the city's purchase of 300 bicycles to expand bike patrols and easily navigate the crowds. The Cleveland Police Department, the Secret Service, and the FBI, along with other police departments from across the country, will help keep the peace if necessary. And some of the city's law enforcement, understandably, are on edge after the ambushes in Dallas and Baton Rouge.
Scream about Trump, scream about Hillary, I don't care. Don't throw a stone. Don't throw a rock at my guys.
Detective Steve Loomis, a 33-year veteran with the Cleveland Police, is also the president of the city's Police Patrolmen's Association. Loomis has been the biggest critic of Cleveland and the RNC when it comes to convention security.
My biggest concern is for the safety and well-being of our guys. I'm concerned that we're not going to have the numbers that we should have.
He tells CBN News the federal government will be on the watch for potential terrorist activity. While most of the issues seem to be resolved, there are still a few safety concerns, like having so many protesters with different agendas converging in one place. Tim Salati of Citizens for Trump told CBN News his group plans to hold a rally during the convention and explained how members plan to protect themselves from potential violence. He said, Ohio is an open carry state. If you feel the need to carry a gun to protect yourself, be responsible with it. We are going to tell them we don't want them to bring long arms. You really can't tell anyone not to bring a gun. Black Lives Matter did not respond to CBN when we posed the same question to them. Meanwhile, members of the city's faith community are promoting a message of change. Dr. R.A. Vernon, who pastors Cleveland's largest predominantly black church, told CBN News that although he opposes violence, he also thinks the convention could be the perfect opportunity to highlight injustice.
The prophetic part of me understands that with the whole world watching, what will there ever be a better time to point to what's happening to innocent black lives in America? Yes, they want this convention to go off without controversy, when sometimes it's only controversy that brings light to issues.
As you can see, security is pretty tight, so anyone who isn't supposed to be here will have a tough time trying to get in. Still, Cleveland city officials and faith leaders all seem to agree on one thing, that if trouble comes, it probably won't be from Cleveland residents. They say Cleveland residents will remain respectful no matter what their ideological differences, and they're hoping outsiders will do the same. John Jessup, CBN News, reporting in Cleveland.
Well, the one ripple in the pond seems to be the fact that Paul Manafort, the general chairman of Trump's campaign, picked a fight with John Kasich, who's the Republican governor of Ohio. That was a stupid thing to do, and the statements were just totally over the top. They were gratuitous. I know Kasich, I've known him for many, many years as a good friend. He isn't a fan of Trump, but that's nevertheless, and he didn't come to the convention, which is being held in his own state, but that means you still don't get in a fight with him. That isn't smart, and I don't understand why those guys just can't stop fighting. But there seems to be some attempt during this convention to bring harmony. Our political correspondent David Brody is with us now from Cleveland. And David, what about Melania Trump's speech last night? The AP picked up on it. What are the people saying, or are they saying anything?
Well, let me give you an anecdote here, Pat, for a moment. I wake up, I'm in the hotel room this morning, or in the hotel lobby this morning, and people all around me are talking about the, quote, plagiarism charges this morning, instead of talking about how great that speech was. And I think that says a lot. Look, the Trump campaign lost a critical 24 hours of positive coverage from Melania Trump. I don't think there's any question about it. So the short-term political damage is not good for them. But the long-term story here, Pat, is that the reality is that Melania Trump gave a very good speech last night. Look, she was poised, smart, articulate on that stage on Monday night. And what that means, Pat, going forward is that Melania Trump needs to get out on the stump, to have some sort of rhyme there. Melania Trump on the stump, I think they should use that actually, Pat. But that's what she needs to do. And that's what the campaign needs to do, because clearly she is articulate, doing a very good job, and they need help among women voters. She could be a key part of that.
Well, she's absolutely gorgeous. Of course, she is a renowned model, a European model, and Mr. Trump has a good eye for beauty. What about the rest of the delegates? It looks like there's finally some harmony reigning among the Republicans now. Is that right?
Yeah, there was a bit of a kerfuffle. Of course, the mainstream media will call it chaos. Look, I was on the floor when it happened. There was some frustration. There is no doubt about it. And this is overflow frustration from months and months of the vitriol and the campaigning and that Never Trump movement. And this was finally the last spewage, if you will, of the Never Trump movement, because tonight, Tuesday night, they will do the official roll call vote. And though it might get boisterous and a bit vocal at times, Donald Trump indeed will have the delegates that he needs to be the Republican nominee. So yes, did it help the unity portion of what the Trump message wants to be ultimately? No, but it was a blip on a radar that at least the Trump campaign hopes that they'll move forward on the unity message. We'll hear Paul Ryan tonight, Kevin McCarthy. So there'll be some folks here basically saying, look, we need to pull together as one party. We'll see how that goes.
You know, David, I've organized events, nothing of that scale, but nevertheless, I'm quite in awe of how they brought that thing together, because, you know, they're out there campaigning and wandering around the country and kind of yelling at each other. And all of a sudden, you've got this gorgeous set in this building. It's really very beautiful. What do you think? Who did it?
Well, Chris Christie, and not that Chris Christie designed the set, I'm not saying that, Pat, but Chris Christie has really led this effort to kind of get this convention moving in the right direction. And clearly, they've done a good job aesthetically. The question will be, how it will play in the next few days or so. And we'll see. Look, Donald Trump coming out Monday night to, what was that, like, it was like WrestleMania. I mean, it was smoke and it was blue fog and it reminded me of that game show, The Weakest Link, where all the fog is around. It was fascinating and was, by the way, had to be the shortest speech Donald Trump ever made, by the way. I think it was about 42 seconds, and that's nothing for Donald J. Trump. Well,
Have you got any poll numbers right now? It looks like Trump was ahead in some of them, but he was behind in others. We don't know yet if there's any bounce yet from that one night. Have you heard any poll numbers?
We have heard some poll numbers, and the bottom line, it's all in the margin of error as it relates to key battleground states: Ohio, Florida, Michigan, you can go on, Iowa as well. All within that +3, +4, most of them showing Hillary Clinton up +3 or 4, but Donald Trump is in the game, and remember, he hasn't really hit much on the emails yet. I mean, he's done some, but believe me, he's got a few months to go to hit on the email server. He'll hit on Benghazi. We heard some of that last night. And so there's a lot of things in the toolbox for Donald Trump over the next few months. And so the campaign believes that they'll have time to really paint Hillary Clinton. They've already tried to paint her as crooked Hillary. It's interesting. Donald Trump, when he puts up his poll numbers on Instagram and some of the other social media, it says Donald Trump, and then it puts his number, and then underneath it puts crooked Hillary, 38%. He doesn't even put Hillary Clinton. So, look, he does a very good job at defining the narrative. He'll do it again to Hillary. And, we'll see. Look, they've hired about 15, 16 staffers in key battleground states. They just did that in the last 24 hours. So there's movement on their part.
Well, it looks like Trump is appealing to a constituency that's normally gone with the Democrats. I mean, that's those various speeches he's been making about protectionism and loss of jobs and all that. That's resonating with blue-collar workers that have been laid off or are underemployed.
There is no doubt about that, Pat, and this is the big concern among the Hillary Clinton campaign and Democrats writ large. Look, I talked to a Democrat strategist who said our biggest concern, they think Hillary's going to win, of course, but their biggest concern is that silent majority that we hear so much about, the folks that are out there that have been disenfranchised, disenchanted with the political process that Donald Trump is tapping into. And if you notice, he talks about Bernie Sanders quite a bit because he wants some of those votes. It's fascinating that a billionaire like Donald Trump can talk like a cab driver and appeal to blue-collar workers. It is a fascinating political skill, no doubt about it. And Donald Trump can actually get there potentially if he continues to do that. Look, but he's got some work to do with women. He's got some work to do with minorities. He's going to talk about how he's going to be a jobs president. We're going to hear that tonight at the convention because he believes that saying he's going to be a jobs president will help in the minority community, and that's their tact going forward.
David, thank you. We'll look forward to your continued reports from Cleveland, the Republican convention.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, we knew it would be. I mean,
yeah, it is. But, the things are staged. There used to be some drama because you didn't know who the candidate was going to be, and there were various voting blocks, and there was smoke-filled room meeting with various delegates and pressure on this one and that one to switch. You don't have any of that anymore, it looks like. Yeah. Okay, well, we've got something else very interesting. We're going to switch gears a lot.
Yeah. Well, coming up, the harsh reality of sex trafficking.
My very first date was a maybe late 60s white old man that made me lay down in the car, pulled me into his garage so his neighbors couldn't see me.
12 years of prostitution and drug addiction followed. See how a new outreach is helping victims break free.
Do you realize there are at least 1 million human beings being trafficked every year? They're put in slavery. They're dehumanized, they're beaten, they're drugged, they're starved, they're kicked, they're locked up in subhuman environment. And a lot of them are for sex, because here's the deal. If a heroin dealer buys a load of heroin and he sells it, he's then got to go get some more heroin, and then he's got to sell that. But if he has a woman and he uses her and she's out prostituting herself 10 times, 12 times, 14 times a night, she's good for the next night and the next night and the next night. And so the profit from prostitution is much greater than trafficking. Than drug selling. My heart goes out to these people. It's the kind of thing where I think that I would shoot them without mercy. I know that sounds hard, but I just think this is what they're doing to these women and these young boys and girls is just outrageous. And what's happened so much in the past, when a girl gets picked up for prostitution, she is arrested and put in jail. Now there's a new way to rescue women from the streets, and it involves police sting operations and an opportunity for a new life for women that have been victims of this hideous sex trafficking. Our Heather Sells rode along with police to show us just how this new way works.
Sarasota, Florida offers tourists beautiful weather, excellent shopping, and a prime location on the Gulf of Mexico. There is, however, a dark, gritty side to this city, and it's here where human trafficking flourishes.
If you can, try not to pull over in a congested area.
It's why Sarasota police and the group Sail of Freedom organize undercover sting operations every month. Their goal: turn women from the streets to services that will help them start a new life.
She's crossing the street. She's going to be on the east side. She's actually coming your way.
Here's how it works. A male undercover officer poses as a buyer, searching the area where the sex trade thrives. Our car is one of several police units following him. Within minutes, he's found a young woman who quickly steps into his vehicle and agrees to his offer.
Yeah, I charge $25, Okay, 25? Yeah.
That's already a good deal.
Moments later, police surround the truck to arrest her on a misdemeanor charge. But there's a twist. After taking her to the station, Sail of Freedom will offer her services instead of jail.
Once they get arrested, they're bonded out within a day at the most, maybe 2 days, by their pimp or trafficker. They would call this person their boyfriend. They would tell us that, they're not a victim, they're not being trafficked.
To escape this cycle, Kinsey Pentecost developed the program Turn Your Life Around, or TILA. It's a joint effort with Sarasota Police and the State Attorney's Office.
When they're arrested, we want alternatives. We want a diversion. We want a solution.
As a way to coax them off the street, Pentecost connects the women with what they need, be it shelter, clothes, or a job. Sometimes it's medical care for a pregnancy. Usually she's turned down by women who don't trust her, don't think they're being trafficked, or simply aren't ready for a change.
It takes 7 to 8 times statistically for a woman to say yes.
You try, and a lot of them aren't ready. And then when one finally comes on board and they're ready and they want help, that's a huge success.
And TILA's successes are growing. When it started in 2013, less than 1 in 5 women took the opportunity to leave the streets. Today, more than half choose to leave their pimps. Courtney left almost 2 years ago. Her life on the streets began when a trafficker convinced her it would support her drug habit.
He was selling me on this was money all day long. Anytime you wanted it, you could get money. He showed me a girl and what she was doing, and a car pulled up, and he says, "This is your one." So I got in the car, and my very first date was a maybe late 60s white old man that made me lay down in the car, pulled me into his garage so his neighbors couldn't see me.
45 minutes later, she handed her pimp $80, which he used to buy her crack cocaine. That addiction, plus a fear of retaliation, kept her captive for 12 years.
Once you've had your first beat, once you've been beaten your first time, once you've been raped your first time, once you've been drugged your first time, those are vivid in your mind. And a paranoia comes to you.
After an especially brutal rape, Courtney met Pentecost during a sting operation. She agreed to detox and then to a trafficking shelter.
At this point, I was kind of wondering, what kind of place is this? But I was ready. Like, I didn't want to walk the street no more. I really didn't want to do it.
Courtney also found help in the Tyler court. Specialized program dismisses charges for trafficking victims who complete treatment and graduate from the program.
The mindset has changed substantially for our prosecutors. So I think that we are now looking at these women, mostly women, as victims. In the vast majority of cases, they are true victims.
Pentecost says most of the women were abused as children, paving the way for them to run into the arms of traffickers and an incredibly violent life.
We know that they're messing with death, whether it's suicide, violence, drug overdose, they are going through it.
Sarasota police also go after the buyers with another set of sting operations. They're not sure just how many buy sex each day, but they believe that if they can reduce demand and rescue women, they can save lives.
Sarasota's success in diverting women off the street is beginning to attract attention from other cities. And if its effectiveness continues, it could become a leader in the fight against human trafficking. Reporting in Sarasota, Florida, Heather Sells, CBN News.
It's great reporting, Heather. We appreciate that. And we need to get tough on these pimps, too. They seem to reach scot-free. They abuse the women, they beat the women, and they take a good part of their earnings, and they live a high life on the suffering of these women, and the women are put in jail. We've got to change this. The women have got to be rehabbed, which is what's being done in Sarasota, but the pimps need to get very harsh sentences. My sentence would be the ultimate sentence if I was in charge of it, but I'm not. Terry?
Well, up next, the real touchdown Tony tells the truth about playing football in what was one of the most segregated cities in America.
You kind of know what they think about you because of the color of your skin, just because you're different.
What type of things were said?
N-word. You was called black this, black that, coon.
Tony Nathan takes us behind the scenes of the movie Woodlawn after this.
To listen to our top songs of the week, go to CBN Radio at cbn.com.
In 1971, when Tony Nathan entered high school in Birmingham, Alabama, the city had been dubbed Bombingham because of all the racial violence happening there. Tony's experience on the newly integrated football team is featured in the popular film Woodlawn. Recently, Sean Brown sat down with the real touchdown Tony to uncover the inside story behind that movie.
Birmingham, Alabama was once one of the most segregated cities in the United States. Racial tension had been brewing for years. What added to the problem was when the federal government forced communities to desegregate their all-white public schools. The film Woodlawn tells the story of what happened during that time when the school's racially divided football team is encouraged to unite in faith. Tony Nathan, played by Caleb Castile, would be the spark that the team needed to unite the school and the community. In 1971, the real Tony Nathan was a rising freshman when he and many other African-American students were bused from across town to Woodlawn.
What's going on in your mind? What were your peers thinking about that transition?
You wonder what they think about you, and you kind of know what they think about you because of the color of your skin, just because you're different.
Tony grew up with Christian values and was taught to treat everyone equally.
My parents taught me not to, not judge the book by the cover, to give everybody the time of day, respect them. To get respect, you really got to earn it.
Those values were put to the test when Tony tried out for Woodlawn's football team under new head coach Tandy Geralds. From the first day of summer football practice, tension began brewing between white and black players.
They noticed the ability that you had going in, and eventually, if you was playing the same position, you was going to take the. I was looking to take the spot. To tell you the truth, I was looking to play.
Some of the players tried to get under Tony's skin.
What type of things were said?
N-word. You was called black this, black that, coon.
Daily?
Yeah.
The team wasn't very good Tony's freshman year, but his sophomore season, he had earned a starting job at free safety. And the player whose position he took was white and confronted Tony, claiming it was his spot. And it was then that Coach Gerals made it clear where he stood.
He said, no, this is not this is my team. I do what I want to do, so go sit down.
The next season, Tony was moved to running back, where he really began to shine. By then, Coach Gerals was having some success getting players to tolerate their teammates.
The way Coach Gerals was, okay, we hate one another, true enough. Use that hatred for something good, to go out and win football games.
However, there were many who didn't want change. In the movie, that's when Hank Irwin, played by Sean Astin, approached Coach Gerals and asked for permission to address the team during summer practice. But it was actually this man, local evangelist Wales Goebel, who did the talking. The real Hank was working with him.
That whole experience about him dressing the team, what actually happened?
He told us about Christ and that was a plan in the making for us. And it was like, how you gonna convince us of that? How you know? And then all of a sudden he just said, look, the plan is that you make the commitment to him, he'll make a commitment to you.
One of the white players was the first to accept Christ and the challenge of commitment. Tony was the second. Then practically the entire team, one by one, went down to accept Christ into their hearts. At the next practice, Tony says he could feel the difference amongst his teammates in the locker room.
Once everybody got, made the commitment, it was like, there was no color. Things just changed. You were the person.
Hank Irwin became the school's sports chaplain, and he convinced Tony that he was playing for a greater purpose.
I get chills now even thinking about some of the conversations I used to have with Hank. He said, well, you're playing for God. There's a higher calling that you're playing for. Give it all to him, and he'll bless you tenfold. Things start to happening. We start winning.
As the players united in faith and purpose, the school and the community began to come together in unity to support the team. Tony's senior year, they ended the season 9-1, losing to their rival Banks High School for a playoff berth in a game deemed the greatest game in Alabama high school football history, with over 42,000 spectators. Shortly after, Tony was recruited by legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant to play for the University of Alabama. After 4 years and the 1978 National Championship, Tony was selected by the Miami Dolphins in the 1979 NFL Draft. In 9 seasons with the Dolphins, he helped them reach 2 Super Bowls. He recently released a book entitled Touchdown Tony, Running with a Purpose, where he tells his story with even greater insight. He hopes readers will understand the importance of faith in sports and the influence one can have through a relationship with Jesus Christ.
If you believe in the game plan that somebody gives you to execute, having faith in Jesus Christ, it's the same. It's a game plan. His game plan. You just got to have faith and walk with it.
It is quite a story. You can read more of the real story behind the movie Woodlawn. Just pick up a copy of the book we just talked about. It's called Touchdown Tony. It's new. It's available nationwide. And if you'd like to know more about the revival at Woodlawn High School, we have an interview with the son of football coach Tandy Gerals. You can see Todd Gerals' interview on our website and hear how the Woodlawn revival led to racial reconciliation. So if you'd like to watch that, all you have to do is log on to cbn.com. Very inspiring.
Inspiring story. Well, like Tony Nathan, Ryan Roberts had always dreamed of playing professional football, but then a shoulder injury took him out of the game. After that, Ryan had a hard time making a living until God gave him an idea that led to a whole new career.
Ryan Roberts is passionate about helping athletes improve their football skills. His clients are young quarterbacks who want to get to the next level in their performance.
The first time I train a kid, I tell them, what are you doing out here? And they usually say, I'm here to get better. And I tell them, you're not out here to get better. You're here to be the best.
Ryan grew up in Texas and broke many passing records in high school. Those skills earned him a spot at Baylor University. The shoulder injury sidelined him. He became a backup quarterback for RG3. They are still friends today. When Ryan graduated, he wondered what he would do next.
I was a certified teacher and a coach. And at that time, it was hard to get a job, teaching and coaching in the schools. And at that point, I was making $7 an hour at a YMCA with a master's degree, sweeping gym floors.
Ryan married Brittany, his high school sweetheart. As a couple, they tithed, and Brittany was doing well in her job as an RN. But Ryan felt like he wasn't doing a good job as a provider with his part-time jobs. That's when he remembered the conversation he had with his mom.
And she said, Ryan, have you ever thought about doing quarterback lessons? Parents would probably pay you to train their son.
At first, Ryan had only a few clients, but he wondered if there was a way to turn it into a full-time business. That's when he says he heard God challenge him to do something radical, to give away an entire weekend's worth of quarterback lessons so that he would have a chance to share the gospel with his clients. That decision would cost him almost $2,000.
It was a risk on my end. But honestly, my mindset wasn't there. It was, I'm doing this for God.
Ryan reports nearly every kid and even a couple of parents prayed to become Christians or recommitted their lives to Christ that weekend.
You can't put into words what that felt like for me. It was better than any touchdown I'd ever thrown.
Then something else happened that weekend that confirmed what God had spoken to him. As he finished with his last client of the day, his phone rang.
And I had a message from another dad saying that my business was about to explode.
The Keller Youth Association, where Ryan lives, had just sent out a mass email to 20,000 parents advertising Ryan's quarterback lessons, and they did it at no charge.
And I've been trying to get them to send out an email for over a year, and they wanted a lot of money to send out an email. And from that point on, my business really took off.
Ryan quit his part-time jobs and ran his training business full-time.
My lessons on Saturday, I'd be going straight from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. That next year, I believe I had my first summer camp with close to 70, 80 kids, and I'd never done that before.
And this year, he's even held one of his training camps at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys.
I think anytime you give, you're doing it in obedience to God's word, and his promises that he's made. He says, give, it'll be given back to you.
Over the past 2 years, he has seen his income multiply to more than 10 times what it once was at the YMCA. He believes he has been blessed because of his obedience. He remembers the night he became a CBN partner.
When God speaks to me, it's not in an audible, verbal, voice. He comes and sits down on my couch. But in my heart, I knew that he was asking me to give. And that's why when God asked me to do something, that's why immediately I do it. I don't wait. If you want to take your faith to a whole new level and see God just show up in a real radical way like he has in my life, then I encourage you to give. Because I promise you that if you can trust God with your finances, you can trust him in any other area of your life.
What a great testimony. If you can trust him with your finances, isn't it amazing when Jacob, wrestled with God and so forth, and he then said, look, I'm going to give 10% of my income. If you'll take me out, bring me back, keep me safe, I'm going to give 10%. Well, big deal. Like God needed your money, but that was something that Jacob needed to do. He needed to give that 10% to show that God was in charge. Well, what you just saw was a tremendous testimony of what God will do. You see, if you trust him, he will overcome all the obstacles in your way. Whatever is standing in your way, God Almighty can knock down those obstacles and give you hope and joy beyond anything you can imagine. And what he says is, trust me and watch what I'll do. And if you give, it'll be given unto you, pressed down, good measure, running over, will men heap into your bosom. We have something called Victories Over Life's Storms that I think you'll find very helpful if you've been having some difficulties in your life. This is available to you. We're asking 65 cents a day. That's $20 a month. You can be a 700 Club member. Somebody can do a whole lot more. You can double it. You can go to be 40. You can give $1,000 a month. You can give $100, whatever. But You do what God speaks to you and watch what he will do in response. So I ask you to call in 1-800-759-0700. And Terry's got something here.
I do. This is really wonderful, Pat. This is Stephanie. She lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. She's received our specials before, but she said, I enjoyed Victory Through Life Storms as well as all the others. I was tearful and amazed and praised God for all he did for these people. What an awesome God. Can't wait to tell him that in person one day.
Well, we know it's going to be fun when they get together.
Yes.
All right.
Well, still ahead, a warrior returns home from Afghanistan with PTSD.
I felt the physical symptoms of my face going numb, arms going numb, and I just felt in this state of just complete desperation.
I knew how to take care of my family, but one thing I didn't know how to do was really support my husband.
Watch how this couple loses the battle to save their marriage, but wins the war.
And welcome back to the 700 Club. German police say multiple people have been injured in a terrorist attack on a regional train Monday night. The attacker has been identified as a 17-year-old Afghan asylum seeker who came to Germany as an unaccompanied minor 2 years ago. He reportedly shouted a jihadist phrase as he used a knife and an axe to hack at people. ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack. At least 5 people were injured, 3 seriously, including 2 members of a Chinese tourist family. The suspect fled from the train, jumping off after someone pulled the emergency cord, but he only ran a few yards before police shot and killed him. Tensions are rising between North and South Korea after the North fired 3 ballistic missiles toward the South. South Korean officials say the missiles flew over 300 miles before crashing into the waters off the Korean east coast. North Korea threatened a counterattack against the South after it said it would activate its missile defense system from the U.S. The communist regime in the North already has a variety of missiles that can reach most of South Korea and Japan. And you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
Well, military life took its toll on Chad and Kathy's marriage. After multiple deployments, a bout with PTSD, and marital infidelity, Chad and Kathy ended up broken and battle-scarred.
Kathy and I met my first year in the Marine Corps, and we got married a year later.
We decided we were going to have kids pretty quick, so we had 3 children back to back.
I did a lot of deployments overseas. I'd be gone for a couple of months, and then I'd be home for a couple of months, and I'd be gone again.
I felt really alone, just really depressed, and I thought all I was mom. 9/11 happened. He came home and said that he wanted to be able to help fight this war on terror.
I believed in my job in Afghanistan, and I believed it was the most important thing in the world, and I was privileged to get to do it.
I knew how to take care of my home. I knew how to take care of my family. But one thing I didn't know how to do was really support my husband with the struggles he was dealing with.
Coming home from Afghanistan was the hard part because I just felt like things made sense there. And when I came home, I'm going into my wife's world where I'm impeding on her system of being a mom. I felt like I was in the way.
He just kept himself distant. I just really never could feel a connection. And so just like in every marriage that, you start becoming distant from each other and you're feeling unsatisfied. I didn't have joy with my marriage.
I was diagnosed with PTSD. I felt the physical symptoms of my face going numb, arms going numb, and I just felt in this state of just complete desperation.
We don't really understand the struggles of post-traumatic stress, and so I didn't know how to recognize that in him. The first month or 2, I was able to comfort him through it, but it wasn't long before the anger would start.
I didn't really know what to do, but I had done martial arts my whole life. I'd wrestled and done jiu-jitsu, and I'd already fought as a professional fighter. So my counselor and my wife recommended that I go try to do that. I felt like I had found the cure because while I was wrestling on those mats, I couldn't think about the things that were giving me anxiety. I would spend like 10, 12 hours a day wrestling on the mats and training. And then Kathy encouraged me to open a school. So I started fighting professionally again and teaching.
He put everything he had into that, like everything else, but I watched him do all these things. And never did he put that effort into our marriage. And I craved that. I longed for that. And now here we are, 10 years into our marriage, and it's still not happening. And once his fame came with having that gym and having the professional fights, women came into his life.
I surrounded myself with a bunch of people that just told me everything I wanted to hear, and no one that was telling me the things I needed to hear. My anger was out of control. My home was like, it's not a home. It was not a happy place to be. My children were scared of me. My wife was scared of me.
And I pretty much came to a point where I said, choose our family or enough is enough. He chose the direction he was going, and so we separated and we sold our home, and my children experienced the pain that came with a broken home.
It was probably the hardest thing I ever did was sitting my kids down and trying to explain to them how this was going to be better, and it wasn't. And I became very depressed and suicidal and really struggled with taking my own life.
I was so broken, I was so hurt that I didn't know what to do. I had a relationship with the Lord. I loved the Lord. I knew the Lord. But I never truly got on my knees to surrender to the Lord. My kids would see me just lay in the bed crying all the time. I couldn't function. And so I opened the book called Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy R. Martin, and I began praying for my husband. And the Lord began to show me my faults in the marriage. Then that turned into, God, allow me to see Chad the way you see Chad, and help me to love him the way you love him. And the most important thing was help me to forgive him the way you forgave him, because I can't live a life like this for the rest of my life.
And then one day when the divorce papers were all filed and signed and ready to execute, Kathy came to me.
I say to him, everything that you do, you accomplish, you achieve, you rise above and beyond. But when it comes to our family, you quit.
It just really convicted me. I mean, she was just absolutely right. And I made a decision right at that moment that I had caused the damage, I was gonna fix it. And I began to renew my relationship with God on a level that I had never experienced before. That's when the real restoration came.
It was almost harder taking my husband back and working through restoration than it was actually going through it and being hurt. But I was to a place that I was able to bring it to the cross every morning, and I was ready to move forward.
I would never have dreamed that I'd be in a marriage that I am now.
Our marriage at this point is just outstanding. I have a marriage that I had always wished for.
Now, after starting our foundation, which is Mighty Oaks Warrior Programs, we've had 838 graduates come through our program.
Our goal is to not just work with the PTS victim and move on. We actually want to get in, work with the families, and restore the whole family.
It's never too late. God takes old things and makes them new, and not only makes them new, but makes them even better than you could ever imagine.
God is a God of restoration. Don't you understand? He is a God of the second chance. He wants to restore what's broken. God does not want to cast the pieces away like junk and start all over again. He wants to restore what He's made. And you are His creature. You're made in His image. And He loves you. He loves you in your marriage. He doesn't want you to be divorced and unhappy. He doesn't want you to be fighting and living in perpetual chaos. He wants you to have peace and joy. My peace I give unto you. That's what Jesus said. And right now, I just want to pray for you that you might know the peace of God and that He might bring you to a new understanding of Himself. And Father, right now, I pray with those in this audience who are troubled, whose marriages were in disarray. May they have peace. May they know the peace of God that passes all understanding. And may they be one with you. And may they be one with each other, even as you, Lord, are with the Father, are one. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. If we can help you, if you need further prayer, counseling, the telephones are available. If you want to just pour out your heart to somebody, there's somebody on the phone that'll listen, understand, and love you. 1-800-759-0700. Terry?
Well, up next, we're going to fire up another round of Bring It On. BJ says, we have some gold coins. Is now a good time to sell them? Stay tuned. Pat will answer that question and more right after this. Well, time to bring it on with your email questions. And Pat, this first one comes from BJ, who says, Pat, we have some gold coins. Is now a good time to sell them?
I don't know what gold coins you got. They may be rarities. It just may be some Krugerrands. I don't know. The answer, to, as far as I can tell, I think this is the time to hold on to gold. I think gold is going to get higher. It's moved up. You know, it was $250 an ounce, and it went rocky thing up. It's about $1,300 now. It could go a lot higher if there's some financial chaos. But I don't know about your gold coins. I mean, you may have some rare coin that now's the best time to sell it. You'd have to ask some numismatic expert, and that I'm not. Okay.
This is Maxine, who says, my husband and his family are non-believers, but they all belong to the 700 Club, giving money for your good works helping people. They love Pat and watch every day, but they say Jesus was not the Messiah because John and Jesus argued over who it would be. The true Messiah would know the Messiah. They say God is at most a lesser evil God, as known by the Gnostics' view. A true God would not create evil or be jealous and vengeful. They are the sweetest people who feed the hungry and clothe the naked. They are more, quote, Christian than most Christians I've ever seen. What would God think of these people?
Well, he's probably some of the nicest people who ever had to go to hell. By your good works, nobody's going to be justified, the Bible says. And so they're doing good works, but it's by faith you're justified. Now, there's some people in the Masonic order who believe that the devil is God and that Jesus Christ was a lesser God. That comes straight out of various types of occult belief. As you said, the Gnostics believe some of that sort of thing. And they believed in eons. You go up the ladder and you'd have to identify that one. If you could identify that by name, then you could move up the ladder and up and up and up. So I don't know where you find that Jesus and John were fighting about who the Messiah was. That's nonsense. If you read John's gospel, you see one of the disciples who didn't believe is unless I put my finger in the holes and his hands and his side, I won't believe. And Jesus said, okay, come do it. And the doubting Thomas got on his knees and said, my Lord and my God. They were all in one accord as to who Jesus was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is Christine, who says, I lost my belief in Christianity a few years ago. Lately, I've thought of going back to being a Christian. I was thinking about getting rebaptized, but I've been told that it's a sin to get baptized more than once. Is this true?
Not at all. Look, baptism is a sign that you have been buried with Christ and are raised in newness of life. And if you were not a believer before, then getting baptized again, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, in the Middle Ages, they had the so-called rebaptized, the Anabaptists, and they would say, okay, you want to get baptized again, we'll dunk you in the water and drown you. I mean, they persecuted those people. But there's no sin about that at all. But the question is not where you're baptized, but will you give your heart to the Lord? He stands ready to forgive and to if you could just understand who he is, if you would just contemplate the nature of this world that he made, you begin to see the awesome about how great God is. Well, we leave you with today's Power Minute from Colossians. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. Well, that's all the time we've got. Tomorrow we're going to meet 4 centenarians who have been best friends for 94 years. Well, good for them. We'll tell you about it, but for Terry and all of us, this is Pat Robertson, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.